All right, guys, welcome back to Watch Trading Academy, and joining me again. I mean, you were just here, like
Trying to live here.
Wasn't this like 3 months ago?
Yeah, something like that. October.
Okay, October you were here making $100,000 in net profit, and now you're back on the same place, doing $250,000 in net profit.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Can you actually believe that kind of evolution, in the speed of the evolution? Was that surprising?
I continue to be surprised every single month, pretty much. Like it continues to be surprising to me.
Okay, what's the most surprising part? I mean, you've done this for a while now. Like, I mean, not that long, like a year and a half. You know, like $250,000 in profit. That's a pretty significant, giant leap, right?
Yeah, I think one thing that's surprising is how it gets easier as you go and quickly, right? Like as you build the relationships, as you meet new clients, as you meet new traders and dealers, and you kind of just keep developing your relationships, it just keeps building and building and building.
So you're kind of seeing what I mean when I say something becomes passive, even though it's not really passive income, if that makes any sense.
For sure, and even after only 14 or 15 months for me, it could be very passive and still make a really good living. I just keep it from going passive because if you can always stay active and push it even farther, right? So like easily I could say, hey, I just want this to be passive and make 10K a month, you know, and be cool with it. I just continue to want to push kind of the limits.
So 250,000, what was the biggest change from 100,000 to 250 that got you that scale? Because you had to have a couple of really strong months to basically make 100K over 3-4 months. So what was it that made that differentiator as soon as you hit the 100K?
The relationships is one of them, right? So having those relationships, having repeat clients. And part of it is you're then adding more you're either finding a way to add more capital or you've made money and you're rolling it back in, right? So now you're playing with more watches, and you're also kind of leveling your mindset up. You're getting into bigger pieces, right? That have bigger opportunities, are attracting clients that you may have not been attracting with other pieces. And those kind of clients, they might buy multiple pieces a year. I have a bunch of them that do. So I think that's a big piece.
Okay, so you found that scale to happen based on the repeat business and the fact that relationships keep flourishing and continuing to bring more clients. Let's talk a little bit about this idea of how much has your life changed with 250,000 versus 100,000. I know you're driving a new Lamborghini now. Like,
yeah, that's a change.
Oh, look at that smirk. He's like, I mean, that's a little bit of from Porsche Cayenne to a 4 times expensive SUV.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about like how has owning a car like that helped your business? Has it helped at all?
I mean, I think I've heard you say, like, we all know money isn't the root of happiness, but it's a lot easier to be happy when you have money, right? So like that extra...
It's the circumstance that buys. It's not the actual, you don't buy the feeling, you buy the circumstance that allows the feeling to
just the extra freedom, man. I live that, and I did okay with my businesses before.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, because you're not the type that went from 0 to 250. Like,
but to have an additional 250 that was fun as hell to make, right?
And it's not that much work, is it? Like when you think about like how much work does it really take to make that 250? Now that you've reached it, does it really take that much work to make it? Meaning like not saying what it took to get here, but like how much work in a week would you say you actually do for that 250?
It doesn't have to take a lot of work. I often find that I spend more time in it because I love it, but it's not time that's even necessary, right? I'm just in the mix more than I even have to be. You just
like looking up stuff anyways and looking up and watching.
I just like messing with it, you know, having the conversations, even if they have it, you know, being in the community, you know, talking to people, building
During the 100K interview, we talked a little bit about real estate parallels to like watches, generally speaking. But now that you've made a larger amount of money with this and it continues to go, where do you see the benefits or disbenefits of real estate versus watches? What are some of the contrasts rather than
So this is a great one, actually. So with a business partner of mine, we also dabble in some real estate, wholesaling and fix and flip, and even just retailing, right? Buying. It's literally the same. It's a different asset, right? Well, this is a massive benefit. What it takes to get someone to part ways at the right price with a piece of real estate, and the paperwork involved, and the title work involved, and all that stuff involved to make X amount of dollars, you can do with timepieces it's just so much easier. There's no barriers. There's not all these crazy barriers. There's not all this crazy paperwork and title work and things like that. Like, it's mind blowing as I'm involved in both of them and think like, man, we grinded all that out for $20K on the real estate side and could have sold a couple watches, like sitting on my couch
Exactly,
at
it's
night.
really
I mean,
interesting.
it's literally
pretty incredible, right?
Yeah,
like, you
I
have
think
to go
about
there,
it.
sign paperwork, go to a closing agent, do this, do that, and now
The people involved.
you're like,
right?
oh, it was 3 text messages, 2 wires, and I was done, and I went home. You know, like, and I was like, nothing going on. Like, that's it.
And it's funny, like, I'm living those two worlds in parallel right now, and it blows my mind. Like,
It almost
every
makes
day.
you lazy, doesn't it?
It makes me want to do more and more and more.
Right, of
in the
this and not,
luxury-
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, sure.
Because one thing I've said is, like, people always ask me, they're like, well, like, you work a lot, and I'm like, is this really work though? Like, do you consider like being a professional shopper like work? Like, I mean, you know, like, it's like, what do you do in your off time? Well, I'm looking for my next car, or I'm looking for my next watch, or I want to hang out and look at the next real estate property. Like, that's what people do in their off time. So it's like, yeah, I get paid to do that, and it's like, wait, what? You know, like, you get to like buy cool shit for a living? It's like, yeah.
People always ask me, how much time are you spending? Right, that's a big thing, and it really always comes back to, I enjoy doing it so much and it's so freaking rewarding that it doesn't feel like work. So if I put it doesn't matter to me how many hours I'm telling you I'm spending, right? Because it's so much damn fun and it's so rewarding, it just doesn't, it's kind of irrelevant. You know, if you were to say, how many hours do I hate doing it a week, it's 0, right? And anyone else with a regular job, ask them how many days a week or hours a week do they hate what they're doing. There's going to be a few for sure. So
think about this. I want to try to frame. You know, I was talking to Mike Sambot earlier. Like, he reached 250.
yeah, shout out Mike Sambach.
Christian,
Good
you know,
friend,
one of
yeah.
your. I call them the 4 gangs with you.
Yeah.
You know, the 4.
Yeah.
Chris Cortez, you and the 4 gangers. He's reached his milestone. Again, one of the things that I wanted to kind of ask you about is kind of what I talked to them about. So Mike said it wasn't until he found his AP love that he kind of got sparked to go into the, like, scale. You know, like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to buy all these APs, I don't care. You know,
Yeah.
I love this. Was there any particular moment or specific training or anything that kind of sparked you the way, like, APs did for him, to kind of say, for him it was beauty, it was that watch. You know, it kind of sparked, like, I want to do this for a living, I'm going to figure it out, and made money doing it, specialized in it. You know, we heard from Camden back then, Breitling's were it. You know, like, he kind of, like, went that route. Like, so everybody kind of found their, like, one thing. What was your one thing from either training or an understanding or maybe a watch that kind of triggered a spark to kind of go full time and figure it out?
So I don't know that I had since day one, the first watch I sold, I was hooked. So I don't know that there was one thing, because I was hooked from day one, where Mike, you know, him and I started together. We were talking on the phone back a year ago when we both were starting, right? And he just didn't get engaged until he found his thing. I was engaged from day one, but what training or what things happened is really what you're always talking about. It's getting over the mindset that when you buy a $40,000 watch, you're not risking $40,000. When you buy a $220,000 Urus, you're not risking $220,000. You have 10% exposure.
It's the wealth transfer.
So,
yeah.
so when you get over that mind, so like, it took me a few times to get that pounded in, and hear you talk about it and call me out for it, to where I got comfortable, you know.
So wealth transfer was really the kicker for you, like, when you understood it, not just like, oh, I hear it, but like, I can see liquidity, basically.
And seeing that I could drive a Urus comfortably without fear, and I could wear $80,000 AP without fear and comfortably. So it's like, once I started getting to that level of like, this is enjoyable, it's not anxiety, it's not fear, it's not, you know, worry, like, that's when it got fun. Is like really driving around thinking like, oh, this is just the beginning, you know, and getting comfortable with each level, you know.
Mm-hmm. When I talked to Christian, you mentioned you guys were a gang of 4, you know, like, you guys are
Yeah.
like meet up, etc.
Charlotte crew, yeah.
I specifically brought up with him that I felt that one of the main reasons you and him had particularly better success than a lot of other members in that space was your ability to really grow your ecosystem internal to WTA instead of external. We spoke about the idea that most people that obviously hit 100K or do better typically then find new jeweler groups, et cetera, that contradicts the type of training they're learning, and they continue to grow outside, but they basically sever themselves away from WTA. But you guys kind of found that alliance internal to WTA and continue to participate in the groups. Why do you feel like why do you feel you guys see that value of being internally more involved rather than kind of escaping kind of the ecosystem like so many people do and ultimately end up getting hurt as a result?
Yeah, so one thing is I learned everything I know from WTA with regards to watches. And I just followed it. I believed in it from day one. I wasn't going to get in my own way. I followed exactly what was taught. I joined every coaching, every course, and just kept.
You mentioned that on the
and
100K interview too. You were like,
and everything that was supposed to happen happened. So like, number one, why would I be so dumb to leave something that that's continued to pay dividends? Also the community, right? Massive, like great people. I mean, watches have not all watch communities are full of high integrity people. I mean, WTA is just full
most are not.
Most are not. And WTA by a lot is primarily really good people trying to better their lives and do things the right way at a really high level.
Do you know why?
Why?
Do you know what the difference is between the two groups or the three groups?
I would guess that you are there you care about educating people and helping people. No?
Take outside of like my involvement and obviously the education
Starts
portion.
with you though. Don't sell it.
No, I'm not selling
Okay.
myself short.
Yeah.
But the reason is because we don't train industry people. We train individuals who are new to the industry. So the mindset isn't corrupted already into the New York Jewelry Exchange or, hey, this is how we do shit and this is 10 years of secretive history and blah, 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 blah bullshit. Like, jewelers believe their own bullshit, basically. And what happens is they want people that agree with them and basically they cater to. They're like, I sell you stuff and, like, you're my little disciple, whatever. That personality trait, basically, is that their friends are their customers. And so in WTA, while we have this, you're correct, it is the culture, it's the teaching that I put in place, but it's also the fact that the people coming in aren't already corrupted. And that's one of the reasons we don't allow jewelers and dealers in the group. So one of the reasons many people have asked for, can we get a jeweler? Can we get jewelers to have accounts to sell and buy, sell, trade? Why don't I make more money opening to more jewelers to sell? Like Moto would be like make the group larger and more watches. Well, that's exactly why, because then the ecosystem gets corrupted into this idea that, you're just a fuck up for not buying my watch. You think you know better. And, these arguments, you better ship your watch first or I'm going to get you banned. So this ideology that has corrupted the industry for so many years is basically what we've gotten rid of by introducing people like, you didn't know anything about watches coming in. Meaning not saying you didn't know what a Rolex was, but the argument
that's about
was,
it, right?
Right, exactly. And most people I talked to today that hit 250K also didn't know what watches were out there.
There's one other big piece why we have allegiance, or why me, I guess I can only speak for me, not for those other guys in Charlotte, but you continue to level up also. The education levels up, the coaching levels up, the philosophies level up. There's always more content, better content. So why you're working as hard to be better at helping people grow as we are at trying to grow. So that alone is like, what the hell? Why are we going elsewhere? We're in this thing for the ride.
Right, but some people don't see that, right? Their mindset is more focused on so he's doing it, so what? Well, yeah, it matters, because if you're not doing it anymore, then you're not in the market, right? Like a lot of times I tell you there's a lot of watches I'm not buying anymore. Sure. And part of the reason I'm not buying, I ask you guys. I'm like, who is the last guy that bought this? I haven't bought a stainless steel watch in 20 years. What are you guys paying for this trash?
I asked for a price. I have no idea. I don't
I'm like, I don't fucking buy this shit. I don't know what it is. But I'm honest about it, right? I don't go like, this group is paying that. I'm like, I don't fucking know what this is. Like, I don't buy this stuff. Like, I don't trade it. I don't buy it. it's not my wheelhouse, right? But a lot of times people don't realize that there is the art of trading. You have to stay in it continually. Like if you stop trading for 2 months, even if you say I'll just take my clients and I'm not involved in buying anything, you find yourself at a disadvantage again because things are moving. And again, now you're not a buyer anymore, and people are changed and have found new people, right, to sell to, and they're like, hey, these guys are buying, so I'm gonna sell to them, and so 100%. On and so forth. So it changes. How has your life changed in terms of outlook next 5 years? Like, did you kind of make a decision on if you want to be a dealer or how you're going to kind of scale to 500K?
So I added an assistant super early on, right? I mean, before.
Is she hot? You smirked, so
you
smirked. So look at that. You
this thing will be on the internet. Cut this thing out. Make sure we get this cut out. No. I added somebody very early on, right? Because I always knew in my other businesses, like I'm not trying to do the $20 an hour work. So what I already can tell, I can't even keep her. I'm now doing 50, 60, 70K months. She's not busy and I'm not busy. So like I can do 500K with still very little work. It's insane, right? So when you ask, am I going to be a full-time dealer? I mean, I think I can do 5, 6, 7, 800 to $1 million with one team member and without, opening a jewelry store or anything like that.
I really don't think you should open a jewelry store. I'm saying that's a whole different model, like of owning space and caring for insurance and stuff. But
what do I plan with just this?
Right. What's the next? Like, how are you
growing?
How are you going to scale from 250 to 5? What's the plan? What's the strategy?
So I'm really already on pace, right? Like my last 3 months, I'm already on pace now. So my first 14 and a half months, I did 400K, really. So even though we talked for 100 and we're doing the 250 now. So I'm at the first 14, but the last 3 months, I've done 100 and almost 110K in January and February of this year. We're not done with February. So I guess the question is, how do I think I can do 500 with the same principles.
Okay.
And I guess that's where I'm going to be looking for some guidance is like, how does that 500 become $1 million? What does that look like, right?
Well, we just had Vitor here, and he actually broke down a mini course on how to use crypto to purchase and to receive crypto without getting defrauded, which was interesting because personally I'm not into it and this isn't something I do.
Yeah, me neither.
So I lean on people's expertise that have done that, and I asked them how do people safely buy crypto to use it and so on and so forth. And we basically went on to discussing it and how it works out, et cetera. Generally speaking, I would say that he's found one niche. He's almost breaking $1 million down doing this, which is
it's wild.
Yeah, it's insane. I think it's crazy. I hope it's sustainable. I don't know the crypto world enough to say if it is or not. So now you're a senior member in the group. One of the benefits of being me is I get to watch senior members stay. Some go, some stay, some become kind of teachers within. I know you participate in FTC. You participate in some of these other specific opportunities in terms of helping others, which I find very nice. So thank you for that. Based on what you've seen in FTC and some of these members, you participated as a leader, as a coach, as well as a student. So tell me a little bit about where do you see the biggest mistakes newbies have or 100K club members have to not being able to scale versus the last 3 people we talked to scaled within a few months, like not years or like 3 months later, they were like from 100 to 250. All of them did it post-COVID when the market had dropped, so none of them had lucky breaks or 100K hits, there and there. Like it was all like just pure grind and hustle. What are some of these pieces of advice you can give people from your perspective as to what are you noticing from coaching people that you've noticed in the group people fail at?
I still think, and you start the trainings with this stuff, I still think the most powerful thing is the mindset piece. It's like the negative self-talk and the things people tell themselves about why it won't work or why it can't work, or they don't actually believe it. They don't believe in the process. They don't believe in the system. They don't believe in themselves. It just destroys people. Like every new member I talk to, I can almost know within a 10-minute conversation if they're going to be successful to like a 90% probably accuracy. Like I can have that conversation and know like this person's gonna figure it out. And it just starts with their their belief, staying out of their own way, and that mindset piece. It's just so huge. And then the other big one, and you've been on this now for a bit, especially post-COVID, is deal flow. The amount of people, and I think you're breaking, that's really starting to break.
I hear it more.
People.
I hear more people talk about it. Like, I'm not so worried
repeated.
about this and that.
That's been my mentality since day one, is just move the piece. Like when you sit around and you got to watch and it's been 30 days and 60 days and 90 days and you haven't sold it, it's got to go. Like, you just have to get your money back and buy the next one better, you know? Obviously, do the things you can do, change your photos, list in new places, you know, make new relationships, try to trade it out. But it really comes down to not just hanging on to your stuff. Deal flow, turn pieces. That's what we're here to do. Every watch you sell isn't just the $500 you make or 1,000 or 2,000. It's the relationship you make selling that watch. And how do we put a lifetime value on that relationship? Sometimes it's freaking massive. And that's something that that's not really talked about, right? I sold in almost 15 months, I sold 315 pieces. That's a lot of relationships. You know, and I think part of my success is because I was focused on moving watches. So I was able to condense down what takes some people years into 14 months, you know, to have that same success. So.
Have you found that having the group of kind of peers, mentors, and kind of friends, you know, like you guys, what's funny is I ban a lot of people for creating peer groups because they do it outside of WTA in a way that just basically goes against their terms and policy. But you guys have been able to do that internally correctly, support the community as much as it supports you, and still find value in helping each other. You still participate in the core WTA activities, but I was just talking to Christian, so I'm curious about your view since you're one of the fours and he's one of the fours. You know, everybody has their own perspective into this. How has it helped you to have 3 peers locally? Like what are some of the benefits of teaming up with people outside of just scaling or helping each other scale up? Like, what are some of the benefits, maybe more specifically, that you guys have seen?
So I can kind of bring it back to the mindset thing again. When you got, and I think a lot of people in WTA they meet good friends that become their kind of the people they talk to and support each other. But like with our group, man, when someone's down, everybody's there to lift them up, right? And then we're also there to challenge how they're seeing things. Like, we're a lot of times blinded. Everybody, we're going through life and we can't see what other people see. So we help each other get out of real ruts or make real adjustments to our businesses, right? To our focus. Like, this is what we see, this is what you're doing wrong, and we help each other understand it and make the pivot and get better. So
what has been one of the core help you've been able to give each other in terms of over the last couple of months? Has there been anything like that stands out? I know Cortez recently had a loss. How does that play out in a group? And why do you find it, or maybe this is here's your answer, why do you find it that this group specifically worked while other groups don't work? You know, why did your friendship / partnership?
That's a great question. Like, we're all different, right? But
I heard that from Christian too. That's why I like to hear the perspective. I think it's just the level of, these are the kind of people you're drawing to the community and that are being successful in the community. Like, they're just good dudes, even though we're not all the same and we think differently. Like, they're just good people, and they care more about, no one's overly selfish. No one's overly, you know, like, everybody just truly wants the best for each other. Like what happened with Chris, man. I mean, shit. But we were there to support him, like, literally. I mean, we were talking to him that night, the next day, and damn near every day since. And he's right back, coming back. He's moving pieces. He's having good months. Like, I mean, it's crazy to see, right? And like, hopefully we helped that a little bit, right? Being there to let him not kind of retreat and give up and whatever else. He'll be back. It's going to be the craziest story ever. 24 months from now, it's going to be the most, even less. I mean, it's already I'm waiting.
It's already a crazy story. We're only a few months out. Just wait a year, 2 years. It's going to be nuts.
So if people wanted to engage in starting a peer group like that and do it correctly within WTA, was there anything you guys did that brought you guys together? I know Chris said locality mattered, you know, being within the reach of each other. That was a big deal. Would you recommend that people kind of find other members in their area, or was there something specific that enabled you to connect to each other better?
I think that's one, right? So we come to these events. I come to these events because we're not just people behind a phone, right? You meet people, you build real friendship. And when they're local to you, get together. Like, you go have a meal, you can help each other out. You go have a meal, get a drink, whatever. I think the locality thing helps for sure, because you can just get to personally know someone more. You know, you can grow that relationship faster when you're face to face with somebody.
You participate in just about everything from FTC, Elite Wealth Coaching, to masterminds, to every training. What was the most significant training for you that you took, or what is the most valuable aspect of WTA for you specifically?
So at the time, it was Cal's coaching, right, that morphed into FTC. But that was my, like, that was, so that, and then followed, I was in FTC, like, there was like a month gap, and I was in FTC. I mean, the coaching, hands down. I mean, you have to watch the content and the education and take your notes and think about it and be intelligent about it and use that information. But if you engage in the coaching, it's next level. Like, don't show up, don't sign up and just show up and miss the calls and don't ask questions and just, you know, sit on the sidelines kind of watch it. Like, you spend money, be engaged. I know I was posting and commenting and asking questions, and I was knee deep in it. And you just get so much out of that. That's why the FTC program it's freaking tremendous. Like, the opportunity it gives people to level up, it's crazy.
And now you're a coach in FTC as well, so you help. I know Andre Mercier just did a photography section for FTC, and you're going to step in some of the future ones as well. Can you share a little bit about why you want to give back to the community?
So in my life, in my other business, really in any of the businesses I've been involved in, I've always had mentors. And when they're successful, I don't know how to put my finger on it, but when you're successful, I mean, it feels good to give back. It feels good to help people out and see them level up. Like, so selfishly, it just feels good to contribute positively to other people. But I've always also had mentors willing to spend their time and their money and their effort helping me along. And so, like, just naturally, it's kind of what I've seen in my professional life. And I want to do the same. Like, that's how I want to give back.
Today you've broken another milestone. Soon you'll be back here. We'll talk about 500. But for now, 250. If you want to give people one last piece of advice that they should take back from the fact that Lucas, a guy that knew real estate, knew nothing about watches, 14 months later, 400K in, 250K club, 100K club broken. And yet, this is the part I was telling all the other people we've interviewed over the last few months. It's becoming the norm.
It's wild.
Right? It's pretty crazy, right?
It's got to be crazy for you to see what this is
constantly, like every corner,
Every corner.
No wonder jewelers are pissed, right?
I'm telling you. It's wild.
I think that's the best part, right?
Yeah.
Pissing off people with the success we're having. I mean, I heard the other day some jewelers were like, we're going to go out of business. And they're like, how are your months? I'm like, I had a record month. And I'm like, my students had a record month. And, they're killing it.
And they keep coming. Like, I know. It's shocking more and more and more.
It's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah, it's wild.
What's your piece of advice for people? What do you leave them with today?
I'm just going back to the mindset. Don't get in your own way. Trust the process. Trust the process. Trust in yourself. Stay at it. And just keep doing the work. Keep doing the work. Keep believing. There's plenty of us that show that this is real. This is real, and it's possible to everyone, every WTA member.
Listen, guys, you heard it here. Lucas is back, a big influence in our community. Second time around now, from 100 to 250K in just a few short months. I ask it every single interview. I ask it every single time. Who will be next? Which one of you guys is going to be the next person sitting here having a conversation with me? It's happening very frequently. We're having literally a new 100 or 250K club member a week, which is like insane, right? And we're soon going to have a bunch of millionaire students, which is pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting to be able to, just out of one trade, create that. And I mean, congrats on, stepping up to a Lamborghini.
thanks.
Congrats on leveling up your life, and you seem to be always be happy. So I guess money does
What's
put
there not to be
money does
happy
put a
about?
grin on your face if it
Makes
doesn't
it
make you
easier,
happy.
yeah.
So, congratulations again, and always good to see you doing well. So hopefully we'll continue. And again, which one of you will be next? Whoever it is, let's see it. Let's have you here sharing your success story next time. And I'll catch you next time for Watch Trading Academy.
At Watch Trading Academy, we strive to empower individuals to achieve their financial goals through the lucrative world of watch trading. Watch Trading Academy is the leading platform for teaching you how to buy, sell, trade, and invest in luxury watches.